Well, it seems that Mark Carney got to England just in time to hear Keir Starmer announce mandatory digital ID. I wonder, will he come back from England announcing that in Canada? Welcome back to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. We have a lot to get into in this episode, so I'll just jump right in. Pierre Poilievre has picked up that CBC report about how Mark Carney said one thing about the tariffs and did another. Now let's just listen to a little snippet of the report.
Reporting from the CBC has found out that the Liberal government quietly dropped more of those tariffs than advertised. The CBC's Kate McKenna broke the story, and she joins me now. So, Kate, walk us through what you found out here.
Well, David, we all remember last month when Mark Carney announced that the government was going to be dropping some retaliatory tariffs in order to kind of push ahead with trade negotiations with the United States. So at the time, the Prime Minister said that he was essentially going to be matching what the United States was doing to us, which is to say counter tariffs were going to be dropped on CUSMA-compliant goods.
Right.
So goods that were compliant with the existing free trade agreement. Implying that if a good wasn't compliant with CUSMA, then it would be tariffed. Take a listen to what he said at the time.
The Canadian government will now match the United States by removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods specifically covered under CUSMA.
Now, almost a month later, we've learned that's actually not what happened. Canada has removed all counter tariffs, regardless of whether a good was CUSMA compliant, except for, of course, the sectoral tariffs on steel, aluminum, and auto. And they never actually communicated that to the public.
Now, I have two responses to this that I think Canadians need to hear. One, I agree with Pierre Poilievre that Mark Carney has been caught in enough misinformation to be considered untrustworthy. This isn't one incident. This is 25 or 30. And if his best answer is, I just told you that because I didn't think you were smart enough to handle the answer, how is that healthy for Canadians? That just sounds like a level of arrogance that he doesn't feel that he needs to share the truth or any information at all with Canadians. And I just feel that in the times that we are facing, transparency is a must. And the hard times are that this government has brought to Canada and so many governments have brought to the Western world. Transparency is going to kind of be the thing that convinces Canadians that this can be a government that is changed from when it was led by Trudeau. The other aspect is a little bit more pertinent to the conversation about the tariffs, because one thing that people don't want to see is Donald Trump made a lot of deals with a lot of countries, and to a country, they all have one or two things in common. They have the fact that they are allowing American products into their market unfettered levels. And they all have the fact that they are not putting any tariffs on the United States products while the products going into the United States have tariffs put on them. Which means that no matter which way you look at it, Mark Carney has capitulated and given Donald Trump everything that he asked for. And this is a man who said he was going to stop Donald Trump in his tracks and all of that rhetoric. It's a war. He's at a war. Well, if it is a war, Mark Carney waved a white flag, signed, kissed the ring, kissed the hem, signed the unconditional surrender, and is now secretly and quietly allowing all of the products that America sends into Canada to come across tariff-free. Everyone was wondering why Mark Carney ran off to Europe so quickly, and it turns out that he had to be present when Keir Starmer made an announcement about digital ID.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
A lot of people have strong feelings about this move, I'm sure you can appreciate. And some of the comments, coming to Canada in 3, 2, 1. This is 1984. Digital ID is the first step Chinese government took to build a social credit system. It's the foundation of China's surveillance state, which I believe ultimately is the goal as well. Socialism ID is so good that they have to be mandatory. That is, of course, true. That people who feel that socialism is so good, they have to force it down other people's throats. Like the idea that we're all together in a community has to be imposed. And that works out so well for all of the places that have this situation imposed on them. What you have to worry about is how are the British people going to respond to this? They are already on the very edge. I think we need to see that some country had to be running the test case, and I guess that's Britain. And then how will they try to roll that out in France and in Canada and then any other, Australia, New Zealand? I mean, once they started, this is the history this is the pattern we've been seeing now for the last 10 years. They do it in one and then they try to roll it out everywhere. Member of Parliament Jamil Javani has come up with a message to young men across Canada.
I have a message today for every young man across Canada. Everyone who feels anxious about his future because he works hard and can't get ahead. Everyone who wonders if the struggle is worth it. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You are not the problem in this country. In fact, you are a big part of the solution. You deserve better leadership in Canada. You deserve a government that empowers you to live up to your potential. And the reality is that that's not the case right now. You deserve better, and a brighter future is possible. A future where you are valued and encouraged, a future where you are treated like a priority. We need you, and we need you to speak clearly, tell the truth, organize, and be undeniable. We need you to help us restore the North.
I got a pretty good response in some of the comments. We need more politicians like you. Strong words. Thank you, Jamil. Young men in Canada need to hear this. Restore true North. I think that I 100% agree with this. I mean, I speak with young men often, or the younger men of the generation, and I understand that they're up against it. I understand that not only are they up against it, but all the ways that they try to get out from it, then all of a sudden there's somebody from the woke blocking them. It's not that they are, not trying to get out from under their situation. It's just that every time they turn around, some woke person is standing in their face, calling them names, insulting them, telling them they're not good enough, and doing all of the things that they complain that are being put toward them. And I get pretty fired up about it. So I'm just going to say, I'm glad that Jamil Javani said that from the House of Commons. And we as Canadians need to be thinking about the fact that if we want out from under this, if we want to have strong country and strong leadership, we need strong men, because weak men bring hard times. And since we're on the subject, the CBC is reporting that there is a women's group demanding that there be more women put in Parliament, not because they're good at their job, not because they want the job, not because they're excellent politicians and have a desire to make the world better for Canadians. No, simply because they are women. Parties need quotas to get more women in Parliament, Advocate says. Women hold less than 1/3 of the seats in the House of Commons. And you know what? If we want to start imposing quotas, then I think that we need quotas for men in mental health. We need quotas for men in education. We need quotas for men in all of the medical fields. I believe that if we're going to impose quotas, we need to be imposing quotas across the board. We need to be imposing quotas for women in mining, women in garbage, refuse collection, recycling. I mean, if we're going to be imposing quotas, we need to be imposing quotas equally, wholeheartedly across the board. Or now, I know this is a bit of a hot topic, but we could also just go ahead and do meritocracy, where we worry about the ability of the person rather than how they were identified at birth, to take a quote from the woke. While we're on the subject of the woke and the imposition of the federal government onto all aspects of Canada, the Alberta Premier argues for potential use of notwithstanding clause on transgender laws. Internal memo says province plans to bring the notwithstanding clause proposal to cabinet. So what they want to do is use the notwithstanding clause when they pass their legislation for the transgender laws, which is about access to hormones at a certain age and surgeries at under a certain age. They are not permitting that. Now, I won't speak to any of that in this video. I will talk about how, if we're going to be imposing quotas in the federal government, how long until the federal government, with Mark Carney's desire to limit the notwithstanding clause, how long until these quotas are imposed on the provincial governments, how long until these quotas are imposed on the municipal governments, and how long until we realize that if we're going to impose quotas, the woke has to accept the fact that we're going to be imposing them in both directions, which means a lot of administrative jobs will have to have a full representation of men. And there's a lot of jobs that are in retail, that are in all kinds of things that I can think of that are definitely women heavy, that will have to have quotas imposed on them. And that will, of course, cause a whole new bunch of problems as people are raised out of high school and find out that the quotas are full. So they actually cannot pursue the idea or the dream that they've had or the skill or the career that they wanted to learn because the quotas are such that they can't get in. They're not permitted. As always, I like to try and save the best for last, and this one just made me laugh, and I wanted to share it with everybody. I was going to fold it in on a different video, but I just think it's pertinent. California lawmakers pass a bill to boost oil production. I don't understand. I thought they were having a great old time out there in California with the brownouts and people using generators to charge their Tesla. Turns out that they actually have decided that they want to have a little bit more oil in their system to make electricity, to make it cheaper at the pumps, to do all kinds of things. So they're just going to start drilling for more. They're going to allow for more of it to be coming into the state. The bill aims to reduce fuel prices by boosting local oil production. The oil-rich Kern County to receive up to 2,000 drilling permits annually in one county. Come on. California targets 25% in-state crude supply to refineries. 25%. That means that every refinery in the state will have to have 25% crude out of California in it. I don't understand. I thought California was all anti-Trump and anti-development. I thought California was all about the green and all about the renewables and all about the woke and all about how they do everything better than the rest of us. Turns out that they are in fact secretly on the side of Trump. I mean, they're not going to admit it out loud, but they're just going to copy all of his policies. They're going to decide now to produce much more oil than they are producing. And that will allow for them to live a better standard of living. Welcome to the world of reality, Californians. I think that it's time you realize just how far behind you actually are in the frame of common sense. But that's just my opinion. You can let me know what your opinion is down in the comments. I want to encourage all of you to share this video with your socials. I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.